heavy weapons company from D445 Battalion had moved in from the opposite end of the same bunker system, and we were heading right towards them, and we were lined up with just about every bloody weapon they had. They'd open fire, mate. Would have been a short burst of fire, and I doubt if they'd have found our bodies, mate, we would have been friggin' mincemeat, the whole damn lot of us. I was wounded on the afternoon the third day, and we still hadn't taken it. All we were doing was taking casualties. We're putting casualties onto them too, of course, but shit, it was big. We were outnumbered, we were outgunned. But the way it was done was a heap of shit, because we left many good South Vietnamese people in the lurch. And it was like turn your back on your best mate and walking away. And it shouldn't have happened.
Whereabouts did you grow up?
Started in South Australia, then Tasmania, then went to Queensland after school and all that crap, then down to South Australia. Then they brought this brilliant thing called conscription in, so I was caught, and that's that for the next 20 years instead of 2 years.
So were they serving beers on the way over?
Oh yeah. Good God, the Australian Army floats on fluid, son, or it did in my day anyway, like the old minis. My car floats on fluid, we float on beer cobs.
Where'd you land?
Tonsanut, in Vietnam, you mean? Yeah, Tonsanut in Saigon, the Ho Chi Minh City as it's now called. Bloody still Saigon to me.
What was your first impression of Tonsanut?
Holy shit. Of course, everybody had been told the VC wear black pyjamas and these conical straw hats. In the hold of the aircraft are all our rifles. We got off the aircraft into the stinking heat and stink. Almost made you spew till you got used to it. And there's all these bastards running around in black pyjamas and straw hats, and their rifles are locked on the aircraft. What the friggin' hell do we do now? But they were just the local peasants and workers around the place. Nobody bothered telling us the general populace wore that sort of shit too. Yeah. But it was a culture shock in that respect. It was also a culture shock to see the bloody amount of military aircraft there, my God. The Australian Air Force would have had a bloody orgasm if they had half of it, mate. Hey? It was brilliant. It was awesome, in fact.
What did you see?
Oh, Christ, there were F4 Phantoms. There were the old A1A Sky Raiders, ex-World War II aircraft. They were still a brilliant aircraft for air support. C-141 Starlifters, Hercules and Caribous, bloody Hercs, Christ, there were thousands of them, mate. More than a swarm of mosquitoes. Bloody, it was mind-boggling, actually. But we're only there, oh shit, I don't know, a few hours, I guess. And then we're on a Caribou and up to Nui Dat. And that was another culture shock. Tent city, either red dust or red mud. When did we get there? It was the wet. Wet? Yeah. So it would have been red mud. Tents everywhere, sandbag, blast walls, bloody rubber trees, artillery going off, mortars firing. Bloody Jesus, what have we got ourselves into here? Well, we soon found out, mate. Bloody went to 1ARU, which is the reinforcement unit. From there, naturally, we were operational. We had to go out patrolling, ambushing, all that sort of crap. familiarisation with different weapons that we hadn't used in Australia. What else? All PT again, of course, just to get us acclimatised. And then as battalions had casualties, so we'd get farmed out as reinforcements to the whatever battalion needed whoever or whatever. Oh yeah, and we all fell in the old trap. The instructors there, or our platoon staff, said, put your glad rags on. There's a little village south of that called Wyalong. He said, why? What's happening? Oh, we're going to Wyalong Hop. So, of course, we're all brand new in country. We don't know this crap. So everybody turns up in the boozer about 1600 or 1630 that afternoon, wearing a pair of jeans and a T-shirt and a pair of shoes. And all the old hands, of course, are sitting back pissing themselves laughing. They said, what are you pack of dickheads? We're going to the Wyalong Hop. Yeah, you pack of fools. Go back and get your bloody greens on. Sucked in again. But, of course, as time went on, we pulled the same trick on the newer guys, so what went round comes round. What else? That was...
So which battalion did you join?
I went to 7, the pigs, as evidenced by the flying pig and this crap, and the pig you saw out the front, of course.
Why are they called the pig?
Eh?
Why are they called the pigs?
It started off at Puckapunyal. The CO got the battalion on parade after a heavy weekend on the piss, I believe. And I think he'd walked into the diggers' boozer. And he walked into the urinal. There's a bloke lying in it, another bloke standing there having a leak on him. And the whole joint was awash with booze and Christ knows what. Apparently I wasn't there, so this is second hand. Apparently he got the battalion on parade and he said, you pigs, you're nothing but pigs. And the whole battalion went oink, 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 and it stuck. So over the years we lived up to it, I think.
So did you fit in well?
Shit, yeah. Yeah, the old hands used to, well, I'd sort of hang shit on you for being young and green, which of course you couldn't help anyway, but they'd also look after you and come here boy, this is how you do things, so everything went pretty smoothly. I was lucky, I had a good section commander and a bloody good bunch of blokes in the section.
So what was the daily routine when you joined the battalion? Inside the DAT?
Oh, well, really not much. You'd get out of bed, you'd go to the mess, you'd have breakfast, whatever had to be done during the day would be done, whether it was bloody getting gear ready for your next operation, patrol, maybe a night ambush. We had to maintain pickets and our gun bunkers around the perimeter. Work parties, as in replacing sandbags around the tents, replacing barbed wire out the front, cleaning weapon pits, because they used to get full of dead rubber leaves and shit. What else?
How secure did it feel at the DAT?
Yeah, secure by that stage. We had belts and belts of barbed wire with bloody claymore mines, booby traps, 50 cal gun bunkers, all fire interlocking, M60 machine guns generally sitting on top of the 50 bunkers. Plus all the artillery and mortars that we had within the base. They all had registered DFs, bloody defensive fire, all the way around. And between all the units within the base, they were all wired off too. So if the bad guys got through one and they had to fight their way through barbed wire to get to another, but thankfully that never happened. But basically, when we were in the DAT, it was, other than if you had to go out in the day or patrol or night ambush or something, it was really a rest period because you might have been out in the bush for bloody a month or something. So back at the DAT, things were pretty relaxed as long as all your sentries were maintained and all that sort of crap. You were write letters, listen to music, go to the boozer of an evening, movies of a night time. That was it. There was other than work parties, as I've already mentioned. They were never ending, of course. But, pretty much if you didn't have a work party, you weren't on sentry or something, you could do whatever you wanted. You'd go to another company and catch up with a couple of mates, or if both 7 and 2 were back in, some of us would get together and go over to 2 and catch a couple of mates there, or vice versa. That's life in the DAT in a nutshell.
What about the boozer?
Oh, top spot, mate. Best part of the bloody company.
So when did you get on patrol?
Oh, well, as soon as we joined ARU, we were patrolling over there before we went to a battalion. Once you're in the battalion, your operations were just endless patrolling. You'd be inserted into an area, be it by chopper, truck, armoured personnel carrier, sometimes walk. If we're doing, for example, we did a cordon and search of Whalong Village one night, and that was walk from the DAT down there. It was about, how far was it? Would have been about 5 k's or something south of the DAT, I suppose, if that. I don't know for sure. I'd have to have a look on one of my maps. But depending on what the task was, where the operation was, sometimes the whole battalion wouldn't actually walk out. You might have one company walk, because might have to be a block force close to nearly that, and the other people would go further out and try to push them in. But once you're on the deck, of course, out there, it's just patrol, patrol, patrol. If you hit tracks or something over night time, you'd ambush the track. If you didn't, you just harbour up in your normal night defensive bloody harbour. And hope like Christ nothing happened at night. Sometimes boring, because patrolling, you're carrying all that weight that you're carrying, you bloody, it's tedious.
How much weight did you carry?
Oh Christ, we would have all, I'd say we would have carried at least 75 to 100 pounds each bloke. That's water, rations, because unlike in Australia, where you had 2 water bottles, over there we'd be carrying 6 water bottles. Now you get a quart of water, multiply it by 6, and that's a fair amount of weight. Plus you're carrying 5, sometimes 7 days worth of rations. You got all your ammunition, you got hand grenades, you got an entrenching tool, a bayonet, a machete, tent and a silk for sleeping in. They didn't weigh anything. That was stuff all. Grenades, claymore mines, handheld flares, handheld there, trip flares, smoke grenades, high explosive grenades, occasionally white phos grenades. What else? Oh, of course, the poor old signaller carrying his radio set and battery, and other blokes would carry a spare battery for him as well. So she added up, I tell you, like a bloody pack horse sometimes.
How did you operate on patrols?
In a rifle platoon, ideally you have a section, 3 sections of 10 men, which never eventuated. Average strength of a section would be, I would say 7, sometimes 6. And with casualties, sometimes even less. So you had to be extremely cautious.
What difference did it make to you having less men on your patrols?
You had to carry more shit, mate. 6 or 7 blokes are trying to do the job of 10. So, which really didn't make a great amount of difference, I don't think. It was just, it would be nice to have 3 extra rifles in the bloody section, but you haven't got them, so you make do with what you got.
So what was the procedure when you were on patrol?
Look, listen, sniff, walk, look, listen, sniff, day after day after day. And that really, that's all it was. As I said earlier, bloody tedious. But it had to be done. How else are you going to find the bad guys? They're not going to come to you. Find them, then we can take steps to get around them, we hope. But very tedious.
What would be sort of the daily routine when you're on a patrol?
Well, firstly, you get up, you pack your gear, if you had any unpacked. Then you stand to. Then you move off after stand down. Then you'll patrol for a while, stop, have breakfast. Then you patrol, have lunch. Patrol, walk, walk, walk. Evening meal, beauty. Then you'll head towards a night defensive position. Stand to, again, then settle into your night routine, which is maybe an orders group with the boss, that's for the NCOs. The rest of the blokes, we'd been manning the machine guns, and that's it. And so your bloody sentry duty goes on roster, a couple of hours at a time through the sections, until the next morning, and brilliant. Up we get again, stand to, pack up the house, and let's patrol. Then we'll have brekkie, and we do the same shit all over again. Unless, of course, the shit hit the fan somewhere in between, then things get a little bit different. Priorities are somewhat different. Then you're in the shit and you already know it anyway because the poofters are shooting at you. So then the boredom has ceased. And you don't actually worry when you're in a shit fight. You don't think much, you react. You do think, but you react at the same time. You do the worrying when it's all over. You think, holy snap and duck shit, that was close. And then when that shit's all over, saddle up, move out, patrol, all over again. And that's the way it was, mate. It was just never ending.
Can you describe the defensive positions you set up at night time?
Oh, just basically a harbour, a circle, although that circular was the way it was taught. But if you go into a triangle, which is much better, your headquarters in the centre of the triangle, and each side of your triangle, on the apex, each point, that's where your machine gun is. And each machine gun can fire straight along that section on either side of him, so you got all round defence, plus you got your riflemen and whatnot interspersed between the machine guns. As I said, the headquarter group smack in the guts, and that doesn't matter whether you're talking company, platoon or small patrol size, always the bloody same. Configuration, layout, everything, all the same.
Do you think you were well prepared with the training that you did before you got there?
I'd say, I think I did mention it earlier, out of all of our people, generation after generation, of our people that have went to war. I'd say the blokes going to Vietnam were probably the best trained, and therefore most ready for it. But all the training in the world can be brilliant till you're shot at, and then it all turns to shit till you're sorted out. Because nothing ever prepares you for that sort of crap. We'd been under live fire actually as part of the battle inoculation course during the battle efficiency course at Canungra.
Oh, really? With live ammo?
Yeah, but that's a Vickers machine gun, the old medium machine gun, 303 calibre. But because of safety limitations, the bloody thing's firing 30 feet over your head. You still hear the crack, crack, crack of the rounds going over, and explosives going off in the ground to simulate mortars or hand grenades or whatever. But that crap going crack, crack, crack 30 feet above you don't really prepare you for crack right next to your hearing gear. That's a bit of a different matter. But in general, training, was, I reckon it was good, and as I said, I reckon we were probably the best prepared bunch ever to go to war, other than later conflicts, of course. But up to that point, I reckon we were probably best trained and best, maybe psyched up, mentally prepared.
What was the Vietnam jungle like in comparison to the training that you did at Canungra in that jungle?
In some places very similar. And in Vietnam, the jungle, you had different types. You'd have primary, which is tall, and the undergrowth would be sparse, and then you get your secondary crap, which is thick. Sometimes you'd move through stuff that would be that thick. Even at midday, generally the brightest part of the day, you would be flat out seeing clearly 10 metres or maybe even less, just with the thickness of the canopy and all the other crap under it has certainly made things hard to see.
How would you actually get through the jungle if it was so thick?
With great difficulty, but hopefully very quietly. If you hit something that was that damn thick, a lot of people tend to cut through it. Pointless. Makes a hell of a lot of noise. Now, you don't know what's 20 metres away from you. You haven't got a clue. Well, what the friggin' hell do you want to chop through the crap and make a hell of a noise for? Move around it. Then come back onto your compass bearing and psst, away you go again. But jungle itself is, unless you get lantana and anything with thorns and crap like that, generally it's fairly easy to move through. It's just thick rainforest, that's all. You have vines hanging down, so duck 'em. What the hell? You got a branch hanging over. Don't walk into it, go under it, you know. Some dickheads walk into things, fair dinkum, you swear they're blind. But I like the jungle. I reckon it's bloody brilliant. It gives you cover from view, gives you cover from fire. If you need it, it can give you water through the vines in the dry season. It's your friend. A lot of people treat it as their enemy. They fight it instead of trying to live with it and go with it. And if you can do that, you're laughing, mate, it's not a problem. As a matter of fact, I'd rather be in the jungle than bloody Afghanistan or Iraq, I'll tell you. Stuff those places, mate, no cover. But that's hardest thing to move through actually was bamboo, clumps of bamboo, extremely hard, and unlike the bamboo back here, had bloody great spikes, hooks on it. Very hard, and of course very strong stuff too. After all, the Asians use it for building scaffolding. So, plus, that is noisy. You can't really avoid noise in bamboo, unfortunately, unless you're on your guts and crawling under it, and then you probably get hooked up on a spike or something anyway, so shocking shit to move through.
How about bugs and creatures?
Oh mate, there were billions of them. Scorpions, you used to get scorpions as big as yabbies. There were kraits, which are snakes. A lot of people used to call them bootlace snakes, because the krait's not a big snake, he's only a little fella. Cobras, we used to get them. Well, it means it's good. Mosquitoes, of course, bloody, they're rife right throughout the place, unless they got Agent Orange and fell off the perch. And there was another thing called an RTA bug. I don't know of anyone that was ever bitten by one or stung by one. It was so-called RTA. The story was if you got bitten by it, RTA was returned to Australia. As I said, I don't know of anyone that was bitten by it. There may have been a couple of people, but I don't have a clue. And it was a funny looking critter. It was quite a big insect, like a beetle. And his jaws, from memory, used to come across like that, like big bull ants' nippers. But they were also split laterally, so in effect he sort of had four. And a common game in the boozer actually was if someone got an RTA bug, someone else had come up with a scorpion, and we'd throw them in a ration tin or a coffee tin or some sort of crap like that, and maybe give them a beer and give them a bit of a stir up and see who'd win. And invariably the RTA bug won. That was about the gamut of it. Really, centipedes and millipedes. Centipedes as big as bloody cobra snakes. Bit of an exaggeration there, of course. They used to get quite large, give you a very nasty bite. Hornets, wasps, another one. I had actually had one of my diggers on the second tour. I had to dust him off and get him to hospital. He'd hit a hornet's nest and they went all over him. And that kid was ratchet. Bloody straight to hospital, and I think he spent, it might have been a week in hospital getting over it. These bastards damn near killed him, poor bastard. Aren't leeches, they were everywhere. Bastards used to track us like tracking dogs, I'm sure of it. But a good way of getting rid of them, find them on you, either hit them with a bit of salt out of your ration pack, that stirs them up. Another one, burn them with a cigarette butt. The other one, for the devious people in the outfit, get a matchstick and you just lift the old leech off, lift his bum off your leg, and then peel him back over the matchstick and invert him. Gotcha, you bastard. Then light the match. Barbecued leech. That's about the gamut of the bugs and the beasties and whatnot, I think, other than flies, of course. They're every bloody where, who cares about them?
Did the mosquitoes make it hard at night?
Yeah.
Did you have nets with you?
Yeah, but who the hell's going to put a mosquito net up inside a hoochie if you got to bloody upstakes and move quick in the middle of the night? You know, once again, exercise and futility. We were supposed to carry them, we were supposed to use them, but it's another extraneous piece of shit that always got left back at doing that. If you go out and you're laying in ambush, naturally you can't move, you can't cough, you can't fart, you can't do this. You're going to put a bloody mosquito net up when you're lying flat in your guts in the mud or something. Pointless. Then they gave us, I think they gave us these things like a beekeeper's net. Well, that was bloody stupid too, because you couldn't see through the damn things at night time. What's the good of it? And mosquito repellent that we were issued with, I've still got some in the shed actually. The bastards used to drink it, I'm sure of it. They'd get high on it. It didn't do a damn thing. All it did was sting your eyes. It made good bloody oil for the weapons if you ran out of bloody rifle oil. But she certainly didn't deter the little bloody mozzies at all. What else? That's about that.
Okay. So what was the first time that you came in contact?
That was at ARU. We're on an ambush. It was only a couple of nights after I was in country. Me and the mate had the photo outside. We're in a graveyard and we're laying on this mound. And Bert said to me, hey, he said, you notice what we're on? And I said, yeah, what about it? He said, it's some bastard's grave. I said, well, if it rains, we're off the deck. He said, what's that got to do? I said, well, we're not going to be laying in the water, we're going to be laying above it. He said, yeah, but someone's grave. Shut up. We're not here to worry about the bloody ethics of the business. And all of a sudden there was noise from my right coming along this track. Well, all hell let loose. And then the finish, I think, when we did a sweep or whatever, we found we got I think it was a water buffalo, but there were definitely incoming rounds at one stage. But we didn't find any bodies of blood trails other than this poor looking innocent buffalo. So somebody had to feed a buffalo steak in the local village. And that was the first time, and it was, well, negligible, bloody humorous in fact, I suppose. All that taxpayers' money we expended through barrels and got a goddamn buffalo. Ridiculous.
Was that a frightening moment for you though? I'm just thinking.
Initially, a bit of a shock. But then of course you're firing and you're into it. Afterwards, as I said earlier, you think, shit. But no, that wasn't particularly frightening. Later on when we got some different shit, yeah, bloody oath. Very scary.
What was your role within the patrol?
Initially I was a scout. Then I played tail in Charlie for a bit. Then the gunner didn't want to carry the gun anymore, so I took over the gun.
How are those roles different within a patrol?
Well, tail in Charlie looks after the arse end. He's like a forward scout in reverse. The scout's a poor bugger up the front who everyone's relying on. Ideally, he'll pick up the bad guys, any sign of them, any sign of a camp or a bunker system, before the bad guys pick him. Doesn't always happen, of course. Tail and Charlie keeps watching. As I said, basically he's a forward scout in a reverse role. He's watching the arse as well as what's happening up front. Just to make sure we're not being followed. Not any more relaxed than the point bloke, but, well, no one relaxes their fools if they do. The machine gun, other than the section commander, probably he's responsible for a third of the firepower in the section. So, fairly responsible. And of course you're carrying that great beast of a thing. It weighed 23 pounds and a 100-round belt of ammo weighs 7 pounds. So if you're only carrying 100 rounds, which no one ever did, I mean, stupid I think, minimum we had to carry was 300. But even that's, say 300, there's 21. And 23, there's 44 pounds just weapon and your very basic ammo, without all the other crap you got to carry. But I used to carry 700 rounds myself, 300 on each shoulder and 100 coming back off the gun. So there's 49, 72 pounds weapon and ammunition, without water, rations, bloody any of the other crap. So bit of a hard job.
Sure.
Yeah.
How would you negotiate who does what role within a patrol?
Well, the section commander does that, the corporal. He says he's got a 2IC, Lance Corporal. The section commander nominates who he wants as scout, or he'll ask who wants to be the scout. And if a bloke says yeah, and the section commander trusts him and knows he can do the job, then he'll do that. Gunner again, someone can just be nominated or someone can volunteer. For example, when Hendo didn't want to carry the gun, I said, give it to me, I'll carry it. But if I hadn't have, Griff would have asked who wanted to carry the gun. Decision is really up to the section commander, but there again he's got to look at his people and see who's best suited for what, and can he do the job, will he do the job. So it's really his responsibility, but if he's got any sense, he has a bit of a Chinese parliament about it, and then comes up with the best answer he can.
So the forward scout job sounds like probably the most stressful one in the whole group.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you find it?
Good.
Why's that?
I was pretty good in the bush, and I trusted instinct to a degree. Now, a lot of people will say that's bullshit, but I disagree with them. I liked it. Not the stress or the responsibility, probably the excitement maybe. And probably the fact to a degree I was on my own. I never worried about the stress much, I think. Probably never had time to think about it for that matter anyway, and I was a curious sort of a bastard. You never know what's around the next corner, so to speak. So I didn't mind actually, I quite liked it.
When you say instinct, are you talking about sixth sense, or are you
Yep.
talking...
All hairs on the back of the neck, mate. People reckon that's bullshit. Crap, that's bullshit. That's dead true.
Did you have an incident where your sixth sense was right?
I've had a few.
Can you tell me about them?
They come into the second tour.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll leave that till the second.
Okay.
What were some of the major incidents that happened to you during your first tour when you were out on patrol that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, we had our share of contacts, initiating ambushes, which is nothing different to anybody else. We all did that. You would sometimes, during the course of a day's patrolling, be it operating as a platoon by itself or a platoon as part of a company, might find something the company commander or the platoon commander would say, might have a look at that later. So you'd keep going and you'd harbour up. Then you'd send an ambush back to that particular point. Or if battalion, as in command element back at Nui, that got information on something that was near us or whatever, they could then direct us to that certain point and ambush it, or lay an ambush there. In fact, you might stay there for 3 days and nights or something. Or if you found a well-used track with signs of recent or extremely recent use, you'd slap an ambush on it. You might stay there for the rest of that day and that night, maybe even part of the next day, and if nothing happened, then you'd chuff off. If something happened, beauty, you got a couple of kills. But if nothing happened, keep patrolling.
When you're in an ambush situation, do you literally have to just sit down and shut up and do absolutely
You don't
nothing?
sit, you lay. You lay in your guts, and that's it. Everyone's briefed. Everyone knows exactly what's going to happen when and if it happens, and that's it. No noise, no nothing. No eating, no drinking, no smoking, no nothing. You're just watching, waiting. And if they oblige by coming along, you have a shit fight where everything's going out and nothing's coming back in, and ain't that good. And you got them, we hope.
How would you do a plan of action?
Well, firstly you got to look at where you are or where you want to ambush. There's two ways of doing it, three. You can do a ground reconnaissance, which means you're going on the ground yourself. You can look at a map. This is depending on where the point is, if you're not already there.
I'll just pause you for a second.
Yeah.
The truck's a bit loud.
Yeah, or thirdly, if you have it available, you can do an aerial reconnaissance of where you want to go, because you don't fly directly over it and hover there and look at it, you piss off away, but you can look at where you want to go, then compare your map to what the deck's telling you, then formulate your plan. How you're going to get there, where you're going to have a rendezvous point, or, yeah, RV point, whatever.
How often would you do it from the air?
In our case, very rarely. SAS had more opportunity for that than we did. But occasionally some of our commanders, platoon commander or company commanders, would have the opportunity. The average section commander on the ground had stuff all. Then whoever's running the rock show makes his plan, formulates his orders, and down the line goes the word. Then later on, out through the bush go the troops, and settle into what will either be excitement or boredom. And then when it's all over, back you come, or further out you go.
How often would you go out and for how long?
All depend on the operational commitments. Some operations would only last 2 to 3 days. Cordon and search of a village might just be an overnight job. Major operation, which we used to call search and destroy, but that offended some people, so we had to call them reconnaissance in force or some shit. Meant the same crap anyway, search and destroy.
Who did it offend?
Do-gooders and politicians, mate.
Right.
Both here and in the States. At a major op like that it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Never knew.
Could you get resupplied?
Oh yeah.
How would that happen?
Generally by chopper, sometimes by armoured personnel carrier, depending where you were. Every 5 days on average we'd be resupplied, usually by air. Move to or close to a clearing, in comes the bird, off comes the goodies, out goes the bird, into our packs, and then walk again.
You mentioned that you were inserted with APCs.
Yeah.
How often would that happen?
Oh, quite often on operations. Depending what the task was, the carriers would stop and everyone would get out. Commonly, if we were going to an ambush position, the carriers would drop their ramps and keep them parallel to the ground or just off the ground, about yay high. And they'd keep moving very slowly, and of course we'd just go dink, dink, dink down the ramp and into the scrub, and any bad guys around, if any, wouldn't have thought the carriers had stopped, when naturally they hadn't, so they wouldn't have been thinking anybody had got off. And the carriers had pissed off somewhere else for whatever their commitment was, and quite often that might be also an ambush, but a couple of thousand metres away from us. And if that was the case, often they'd pick us up next morning if it was only a night ambush. Other times they'd drop us and we'd just go, and they'd just go. And never the twain shall meet for weeks.
Would you actually ever connect with anybody else doing the same sort of patrols as yourself?
Only if the bastards couldn't navigate and bumped you.
Did that ever happen?
Yeah. See, a lot of people get killed by friendly, so-called friendly fire. I've never met a round fired that was friendly yet, for shit's sake, unless it's going away from me. Don't matter who's firing, if it's coming to you, it ain't too friendly. Yeah, some people get confused in their navigation and they'd walk smack into another mob. And of course the other mob might be ambushing, or even if they're patrolling, no one's supposed to be near them. So, phew, open up their own boats.
Did that ever happen to your patrol?
Shit no, I could navigate. But there were a lot of people who couldn't. And that did happen, mate, I couldn't tell you how many incidents in the entire period that we were over there, but it was common, unfortunately. Sometimes no one would be hurt, which is a bonus for all concerned, but sometimes we actually had our own people killed by our own people. Pardon me. Because of a navigation stuff up. Sad news, bad news.
Would that change the atmosphere of the whole base? When something...
Not the base, but the two units involved, yeah, or the two sub-units, I should say, involved, yeah, certainly did. Because the mob out there that's wrong is saying you pack a cockhead, you shot our mate. And the blokes here who did the killing are saying you bunch of dickheads, you should have been 5,000 metres away. Shh.
Did you ever come across any bunker systems?
Oh shit, yeah, heaps of them.
What would they look like?
Generally, they're extremely hard to see until you are in among them. From the outside, looking into their area, as I said, extremely hard to see. Best chance of picking them up, other than probably aerial photography or even ground reconnaissance, as you're moving towards them. Often find trees that were cut, even saplings about 3 inch diameter or something, cut low to the ground and with a dollop of mud put over the bare wood. That way anyone up there with eyes in the sky wouldn't see freshly cut wood. All looks the same colour as the earth or under the jungle canopy. So tracks near streams, usually leading up to high ground, quite often lead you into them. So tread softly and carry a big stick in a situation like that. And they're scary shit. If they're occupied, you got one hell of a shit fight in your hands, if there's any sizeable force in there. If they're unoccupied and you search them and you finish the search and nothing's happened, you think, thank Christ for that. We had a few that were occupied, some with only a little caretaker force, 2, 3, 7, 10. Some with a more sizeable force, they take a bit of winkling out. And when I was wounded, which was Tet Offensive in 1968, boy, the shit hit the fan. We don't know how big the bunker system was. We were there for 4 days, 3 nights. I was wounded on the afternoon the 3rd day. And we still hadn't taken it. All we were doing was taking casualties. We're putting casualties onto them too, of course, but shit, it was big. We were outnumbered, we were outgunned, I can tell you.
Did you have any warning that that was going to happen?
Yeah, because 7 Platoon found this bloke coming out to have a crap. Noggy bloke, of course. Instead of letting him have a crap and looking around, the bastard shot him. Well, that's when the shit hit the fan, literally. Phew, they came under that much fire. The rest of us had to go up to help them. And the only way we went in, the only way that we could extricate ourselves was using fire and movement in reverse. Normally when you use fire and movement, you'd only use part of a section or section by section. We had to use each platoon, one platoon, putting down all its fire back to the bad guys while the other one went back, and 7 Platoon had casualties, so that slowed them up. Then they'd stop and pour all their fire back into the system, and we could move back. And so it went on and on and on until we're all buggered in the finish.
So was there just 2 platoons involved?
Yeah. 7 started it. I was in 8 platoon. We went in. 9 platoon was reserved, but when we got rid of 7's casualties, 8 and 9 went in, and 7 became reserved because they'd already taken a flogging. So then it was 8 and 9's turn to cop a goddamn flogging, and that we did.
So how many in 7 were wounded?
I can't remember. I honestly cannot remember. I know we had 1 killed. That was Mick Ayres. And there were a few blokes wounded too, but I couldn't give you an exact figure.
So in your platoon, how many were wounded?
There was me, Bert, the boss, like our lieutenant. Me, Bert, Pinky, the medic. Jesus, who else? Probably a good bloody third to a half, I'd say.
So that's pretty big thrashing.
Yeah, it wasn't too flash. Matter of fact, to be quite frank with you, it took me mind off sex for a day or two. Bloody, yeah, we had a bit of a hard time there for a couple of days.
Well, how were you evacuating out the injured people?
Choppers. Too far from armoured personnel carriers, they had no hope of getting near us. And the choppers were, every second they were there, they were taking ground fire from the bad guys. So
That's pretty hairy.
it was hairy enough for us. I'll tell you what, it would have been a bloody sight worse for those chopper crews, mate, because they just had to hover there and cop the shit. Couldn't do a bloody thing about it.
These Australian blokes in the choppers?
No, Yanks. We did have, I think on day 1, we had 1 lone Australian chopper come in. I think the Yanks had come in and they aborted the mission because of the ground fire. I think. I wouldn't be 100% sure, but I think that is what happened. And this lone chopper of ours was flying back to Nui Dat, and he just happened to be changing frequencies, and he heard us screaming to get the casualties out. So he came in and lifted them out. No gunship escort. Who he was, we do not know, but the man should have got a Victoria Cross.
Because that sounds like madness to walk into a situation like that.
Fellow Australians, mate. He had to do what he had to do.
What about some of the other big defensive or offensive actions that you were on?
That, well, the one I just quoted actually, I think would have been far and away the biggest out of 2 tours, because that was, she was somewhat scary, that bugger. The mate whose photo you saw, when we wounded, I was carrying the gun. Bert was my number 2. which means he should have been here beside me to feed the belt into the machine gun. However, he was about 15 metres half left to my rear, and so I had my arm out feeding the belt into the gun. A round came through the gun, through my arm, and I immediately thought, shit, I'm hit. I know that's poetic, but it's also a fact. And then Bert yells out, "Hooky, I'm dead, I'm dying." By this stage, another round had come through my arm, one through my leg, and I looked around at Bert, and he's flat in his guts. He couldn't see anything because a round hit him there and fell out between the gun and my arm, and it slowed right up. Fractured his skull, and of course blood pissed all over his face. He couldn't see anything. So he had a wee bit of a panic attack. I don't think anyone would blame him for that. And he's, "Hooky, I'm dead, I'm dying." I looked around him and he's squirming like a stuck pig. "If you're dead, you bastard, I'd beat you by 6 months. He only got hit the once. I'm the mug who wore most of it." And that's putting it humorously, of course. Anyway, I shot and shrapnel and shit's going everywhere. I screamed out for the medic. So the medic comes in and he gets close to me and I said, "What are you doing?" At this stage my gun was still working. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm coming here to get you. Piss off, get back there and get Bert. He's shot in the head, for Christ's sake. Get him back under cover. When you're there, yell and I'll come back." Well, anyway, the medic goes over to Bert and he's trying to slap a shell dressing on his head. And the bad guys walloped a rocket in among us. Well, Bert wore none, I wore a swag of it, and the medic got one bit in his bloody right wrist. And the dumb shit, he started screaming for the medic, and I turned around and I said, "You are the friggin' medic, you fool." "Oh, shit." So he dragged Bert back, then they yelled out to me and said, "Come back." By that stage, my gun had stopped firing. I couldn't do anything about it anyway. It was just shot to shit. So I decided to leave her out there. It was no good of dragging it back with me. It was only an buggerance anyway. And because my arm was broken, I couldn't crawl. So the only thing I could do was to roll onto my back, using my left leg and my right elbow, and I'm trying to push my way back, and I'm looking up, and all this crap's probably only going a couple of inches above my head, scaring the crap out of me, as if I wasn't scared enough already. I'm looking above me. There's this tree branch, and there was I don't know what it was, but there's something distinctive on it that attracted the attention. And this bloody thing ain't moving. And I'm going, crunch, 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 get back to that dry creek bed for Christ's sake. This bloody thing up there ain't moving. Which meant I'm not moving. I thought, what the hell? Then I felt underneath me with my good arm, and there was a little root, just like that, sticking up out the ground. It caught me belt, and of course I'm digging a fire trench either side of me and going nowhere. And then I thought, shit. So I hit the buckle on my belt, and the belt flopped off, and then I went ding, 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 and I was back in the dry creek bed, and then some prick yells out, "They're getting around us, what'll we do?" "They're getting around us, I just thought I was safe." Pig's ass. Geez, good old shit fight, that one. When you look back at it, it wasn't too flash at the time. But yeah, that would have been the biggest one.
How did that shit fight start and finish?
As I started earlier, 7 Platoon shot this bloke coming down to have a crap. And of course, as a result, everyone in the bunker system was alerted if, well, they did the only thing they could do at the time. But when you look back and think, if only they had bloody let him have his crap and fold him back in, we mightn't have had as many casualties. But there again, who knows? We'll never know. So it's one of those, the old letter X in the algebra, mate, the unknown. That's how it started. in the finish, the bad guys bugged out on day 4. I was already in hospital at that stage anyway. And the operation folded, I think, a few days after that, and everybody flew back to that. At that stage we're up in, I think, Benoit province or somewhere. We were up past Long Bin anyway, well out of our own Phuc Tuy province. That was a hell of an experience.
So how did you get taken out?
By chopper. We all did. When I got up in this chopper, I was going up in a litter. And
Well, how did they connect you up?
oh, the chopper's got a winch on it with a steel cable. They dropped that down, put me in the litter, and then winch up, and of course one at a time.
Well, who was there to put you in it?
Oh, blokes on the ground, those that weren't wounded. As I'm going up, there's this big dead tree branch, and I'm oscillating. And I'm looking at this tree branch, and I'm getting closer to it, and I'm thinking, oh shit. And at the same time, there's crack, crack, crack of rounds going past. So I could see bits flying out the chopper actually. The bad guys were firing it, trying to bring it down on us. Didn't succeed, thank Christ. Otherwise you and I wouldn't be talking, that's for sure. And sure as hell, the foot of the litter I was in caught that dead branch and tipped me up like that, and I thought, oh shit, no. Anyway, the loadmaster or crew chief on the chopper bloody give the pilot directions, and he dropped the winch and the pilot moved the bird a little bit, and then got me up. He got me into the chopper, took me out the litter, threw me across the bloody chopper. I was behind the pilot, crunched up in the bloody corner, so he can piss the winch off down the ground for the next guy. And the door gunner was a big Negro. And he looks at me and he yells, "Is there anything I can do for you, man?" I said, "Give me a friggin' cigarette, will ya?" He said, "Goddamn, man, we can't smoke here, the bad guys will see us." I said, "See us, they're shooting at us, you dickhead." He said, "Goddamn." He gave me a Marlboro, he put one in his own mouth, and then he was on that gun, mate, hammering away. But prior to that, he was just sitting there, and the bloody chopper was taking hits. He must have been watching what was going on the ground instead of what was happening up here, you know. But oh shit, well, anyway, they got us to hospital and patched us up. Took a while, but we all came good.
How many wounded did you end up with?
I don't know. I think there were about, Jesus, I've got it written down somewhere. I think there were 14 in that. No, would have been more in that hit. I think we had, would have had over 20 casualties altogether. I think we only had the one bloke killed, that was Mick Hughes. I think Mick was the only one that was killed. Because, I don't know, everything's, you remember some things, and other things are a blur. And unless you read something that jogs your memory, it'll probably forever be a blur unless I'm talking to someone and he says, "What about?" And I'll think, shit, that's right, I remember that. But without something being jogged, I wouldn't even think of it.
So, what happened when you got carted out of the jungle?
Flew us to hospital, which was 24 evac at Long Bin. That's an American Army evacuation hospital. And they were brilliant, those people.
Had you lost a lot of blood during the...
Yeah, they put 6 points into me, the surgeon told me the next morning. So I was getting that bit pretty well down below the thin red line, I think. Lost a bit of the old red ink. But I was there for 3 or 4 days, I think, and then they flew us down to Bung Tau to our own hospital.
What was the sensation when you were shot? You mentioned that was worse than getting shot.
Well, I just felt like, initially, like I'd been hit in the arm with a sledgehammer, pardon me. That's when I thought, shit, I'm hit. Other than all the red ink coming here. And then, of course, I got another one, and then the rocket went among us, and I got some more of the crap. That, to me, that's what I felt like. Just felt like getting hit with a bloody sledgehammer. Probably you'll hear some guys say it burnt or something. To me, it just felt like a big whack, and that was it. No other sensation, other than a bit of a quick panic attack, I suppose.
How did you overcome the panic?
Aye.
How did you overcome the panic?
I had to keep firing the gun, son, because there was no one else out there to do it, so it's just training, I suppose. Just you kick in and you do what you have to do. And panic only lasts for a split second, I guess. As I said, jack shit else you can do, mate. You're stuck. Simple.
Just before we come back to where we were in Vung Tau, what other contacts had you had earlier before you were wounded?
We'd had quite a few actually on that operation. It was, some were small, short and sharp. Some lasted a bit longer. As I said, that was Tet Offensive in 1968, and that was the heaviest fighting in the country ever. It was just, it was go, go, go. It just didn't stop. Didn't matter where you were. It was bloody, kept us on our toes.
Did you begin to get concerned that it was getting too intense, or?
Yeah. Once I got back to the dry creek bed, thinking I'm supposedly safe and sound, and one of these dickheads was on my right. I don't know who it was, yelled out, they're getting around us, what'll I do? I thought, holy snap and duck shit, this is no goddamn good. And that was about it. It was either we're going to live or we're going to cark, I suppose. Whatever.
With the growing fighting during the Tet Offensive, were you ever starting to wonder whether or not it was all getting, maybe becoming a losing battle?
Or? No. That came on the second tour, I'd say, when you could see a little more clearly all the politics and the bullshit. People say the war was unwinnable. Absolute crap. We simply weren't allowed to do the job properly and to finish the bloody job we'd been sent there to do. As I said, at the time in 67 and 68, never entered into it. Later on in 70, 71, yeah, you could see what was happening in politics here in the States, bloody bullshit about peace talks in bloody Paris and crap, and everyone knew that was a typical communist regime, bloody stalling tactic, utter crap.
Right. Well, let's get back to this topic when we get back with your second tour. From Vung Tau you were taking to?
Up to Saigon. That was just a short hop in the Caribou. And then from the Caribou we were offloaded on the Hercules. And then we were flown to Butterworth Air Base in Malaysia. And as we were taken off, the aircrew told us later, the Herc that was in the bay right next to us, as we taxied out, was hit by a mortar bomb, because the whole airbase was under mortar and rocket attack, and there we are sitting on this Herc thinking, you ball terror, we're out of here. We almost weren't, but of course we didn't know it. It was only when we were airborne, we were probably halfway to bloody Butterworth, the aircrew came through the bloody cargo compartment and told us all. Thought, shit, oh dear.
Why were you going back?
Well, I was back in the battalion. That is what I wanted. The battalion was going back. I'm going with it. Simple. Could have got out of it quite easily had I wanted to, but no. So that's that. All of a sudden there I was, and there we are. We're heading back there. Oh shit. What a fall, but stuck with it. So we trained and trained and trained, normal shit. Exercises.
How about your injuries? Did they make training difficult?
Yeah, but I never told any bastard. They still give me shit, but what the hell? It don't matter. What else we do? I went back through Canungra again, but in a different vein. It was called sub-unit training. You go through as a company group. But I missed most of that because I was lucky enough to go to New Zealand on exchange for 6 or 8 weeks or something. That was tops.
What did you do?
Drink a hell of a lot of Kiwi piss, mate. We did some military training, however, to justify our existence.
Sounds more like a beer exchange.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Can you think of any anecdotes from incidents that happened during that first tour?
Yeah. There was one bloke, he joined us just before we went up on, I think it was Operation Forest. We flew up into what we called the Warby Mountains, which was Nui Tai Nui Din mountain complex, or 2 big massifs. He joined us at the Dat as a Rio, same as I had been months before. And he came in with this big idea and a bit of a swollen head, I suppose. Yeah, this guy come in, I got his face. But I can't remember his name. If I did remember his name, I wouldn't mention it anyway. But he said to us blokes, I'm not going to be here long. I'm going back to go through officer cadet school. Hey, good on you. Anyway, we flew up the mountains and we did a few hard yards up there. We're coming down the mountainside and the bad guys were there, but they made a bad mistake. They were firing uphill and we were coming down. The dickheads, they should have stayed where they were and let us get past them and fired down to us. Anyway, the firing broke out. Griff went, shit no, somewhere there. I bolted out to the right. Got through a heap of crap I got tangled in or something and hit the deck. And there's this kid, there's crap going everywhere coming up at us, but it was high. And there's this kid, he's standing up with his SLR, looking at the ground, and there's still shit going everywhere. He's standing behind a dead sapling about 4 inches in diameter. If you went, you'd have blown it over. And I distinctly remember him saying, what do I do now? They didn't teach us this at Canungra. Well, that was bullshit for a starter. They did, and you were taught that long before anyway. But he was standing behind this. It wouldn't have stopped an air gun slug, this thing. And he's standing there wondering what the hell he's going to do. And everybody had, we'd spread gone, we're into it. And he's still farting around wondering what he's going to do. And he's standing behind this dead tree the slug gun would have gone through. Ah, bloody fool. Anyway,
So what did you do?
held at the fool to get down. I don't know what he did, he must have. He survived that one. He got wounded later anyway. He wasn't there long. So I doubt if he would have come back to officer cadet school. I reckon he would have had a gutful by then and got out the army anyway.
What would happen to you before you'd go out on a scout? What's the briefing process before and after?
What do you mean a scout? You mean an operation?
Yeah.
Generally on the first tour, old Porky, Eric Smith, our CEO, would get us down to what we called Porky 7, our little landing pad for a chopper within the battalion area. He'd get us down there in a hollow square, maps, all that crap, give an overview of everything and a full brief of what everyone was to do, where we'd be going and all that. And then, of course, maybe back in the company commander might give you one, but there was no real need because the man had given you the whole deal. Then when we'd get out, company commander, prior to that, company commander would brief his platoon commanders within what our company had to do, whichever company you were in, didn't matter. Then the platoon commander would come back to the platoon and brief the platoon sergeant and the section commanders as to what was going to go on from our point of view. And then the section commanders would get, for example, Griff in my case, they get me and the rest of the crew together. Righto, you pack of whackers, this is going to happen, bang, 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 bang. Any questions? Nah. Same old shit sort of thing.
And what were you going into the second tour as far as your role was concerned? How had that changed?
I was second commander in reconnaissance platoon. So that's a whole different ball game. 1 minute, for example, on the first tour, is shut up. When you're a digger, as much as you have responsibilities, your own responsibilities, watch your arc of fire and cover your mate's arse and all this crap, it's a different thing to actually having to worry about 5 men, 10 men, whatever it is. You only really have to worry about yourself, even though you have those other responsibilities. But suddenly when you're in command of people, you're responsible to them as well as for them, and the decisions you make are going to affect their life or death. So, big difference, different ball game entirely.
Did you enjoy the fact that you were gaining more responsibility for your second tour?
Yeah, I suppose. Never really thought much about it, to be quite honest. Bang on there, I had to do it, so that's what you do. As I said, never really thought about it.
How did they get you over there this time? Qantas again?
Yeah, thank Christ I didn't want to go on to Sydney and spend 10 days bloody firing at balloons off the aft end of the flight deck. No way, bugger that. So, consequently, I went over on the first advance party. We were there for a couple of weeks or something, I think, before the main body of the battalion got there. So we were out in the scrub with our various counterparts in 5 Battalion before they come home.
What was it like being back at the DAT?
Like old home week, actually. Except, as I said, you know, some things had changed, but I only spotted those from the air. I wasn't to know really what they were like until a lot later. We were back there in there, I think a couple of nights, and then we went up to Joint Tooled Fire Support Base, PATO I think it was called, with where 5RAR was, or were operating from. I went to my counterpart in 5RAR recce platoon, and various blokes went and operated with their counterparts of 5RAR. We were up there for, I don't know how long it was actually. It would have been at least a week or probably more. Quite interesting, because I'd been through that particular area in 1967, and not a lot had changed except for the fact that we actually flew into a fire support base in a Caribou, whereas on the first tour, unheard of, all a Huey chopper or maybe a Chinook, never a fixed wing aircraft. And all of a sudden, here we are on a Caribou landing in the middle of a fire support base. My God, what a culture shock. And then normal crap.
So when did the shit hit the fan on your second tour?
Most of the time. I think it was on the first operation we did. We went out this area, and I had myself my merry little bunch of bandits, and anyway, my forward scout gave me a little, there was no official sign field signal for bunker or bunker system. We'd come up with that, which that means the firing slit in the bunker. Anyway, me dear little scout looked at me and he went, and I went, ah, shit. So I snuck up to him. I said, what do you got? And he said, I think that's a bunker. I had a look and it was just slightly inside a bit of a scrub line. And we were in sparse crap, basically sort of open. Not in a good spot, just quietly. Had it been occupied, as luck had it, it wasn't. And anyway, I called the rest of the guys up on their guts. I said, righto, here's the plot. I'm going to rush it and roll a grenade through the slot. Cover me. I'm going over the top of it and I'll lean behind it. If there's any firing in there, piss off. Back to the RV point, do not even worry about me, because if that had been the case, I would have been obliterated. Anyway, went through the exercise, grenade goes off, bang, and of course I'm on the other side, and I came up the M16 across my knee and I went, oh shit. It was empty, thank Christ. It was a training camp. And it would have had room, I think, for a couple hundred people, maybe. Friggin' hell, how lucky would you be? Sheer arse. But as I said, you know, if it had been occupied, I'd have been ratchet. And my troops would have pissed off back the RV and bloody pissed off somewhere else and got on with whatever they had to get on with. Wouldn't have concerned me, mate. I'd have been history.
Sounds like a suicide mission had it been operated.
No, it's ask anyone from SAS. Recce is, yeah, it's dangerous. That's dangerous. Can be exciting. Can also be mundane, but it's good in that you're sort of by yourself. There's no noise, there's no nothing. When you've got a large group, regardless of how careful you are, makes noise. With a small group, you don't. And if you see what's coming up, and you've generally, because you can be so stealthy, you'll twig shit before shit will twig you. So you got a chance to back off and get support, or back further off and then wait, or you can go in closer and have a good look. That was not particularly our role, that was more an SAS role, of very close reconnaissance. But suicide, no, if you were caught, well, it's no different to being in a large group. If you're caught, that's bingo. You're a gone goose, you got to fight your way out. Pretty simple.
So you must develop your senses pretty acutely.
Yep. Sight, sound, smell, and as I said before, hairs on the back of the neck, mate. always trust them. As I said earlier too, a lot of people say that's bullshit, but it's not. Worked for me, worked for a lot of other people.
Would that be a sixth sense, would it?
You could say that. Yeah.
When did it get you out of trouble?
There was an instance I thought of on the first tour. I've lost the plot on that. Second tour, we were down the Long Green. We'd come together as a platoon with Support Company Headquarters and Pioneer Platoon. And I had to take a fan patrol, what we call a fan patrol, a short triangular patrol down this particular area. Anyway, here's Company Headquarters. I did this leg. Let's say each leg of that patrol was 1,000 metres. I did leg one, right, changed to a different bearing. Then we're into an old bunker system that I remember from the first tour. And hairs on the back of the neck, I would have gone, if for example that leg was 1,000 metres, I'd have probably gone about 500 metres into that leg, if that. The hairs on the back of the neck just bristling. And I thought, what, there's something here, but I can't see anything, I can't hear anything, I can't smell anything. And I'd go to ground behind a tree and I'd look behind me and couldn't see me troops. Good, they're out of sight. Up I'd get, and I'm looking, cobwebs across it, there was a track just out there. Cobwebs across that track, not even broken. What is it? Leaves on the track, not even disturbed, all the same colour. So no one's walked along it, obviously. Leaves aren't disturbed, cobwebs aren't disturbed. Ant trails, not even disturbed. Ant trail are generally reform in about 10 minutes or something, I think. Nothing. Not a bloody... I wasn't going to go any further, mate. I aborted. So I cut straight back to company headquarters. And I said, sir, I don't know what is there. I cut that second leg short and came straight back. And he looked at me as if he's going to crucify me. But there was something. I didn't know. I couldn't put my finger on it. But all the sign, everything, there was nothing but that. And anyway, before he could say boo to me and abuse the shit out of me, bloody firing broke out. Pioneer Platoon were in contact. So we had to forget him abusing me and get stuck into helping pioneers and whatnot. And sometime later, it was probably a couple of days later or something, he said to me, why did you cut that short? And I said, well, we never got around to explain that. I told him and he said, are you sure? I said, friggin' positive. I can tell you, something was there, but I knew if we went any further, we're ratchet. And as it turned out, Heavy Weapons Company from D445 Battalion had moved in from the opposite end of the same bunker system, and we were heading right towards them, and we were lined up with just about every bloody weapon they had. They'd open fire, mate. Would have been a short burst of fire, and I doubt if they'd have found our bodies, mate, we would have been friggin' mincemeat, the whole damn lot of us. Because one of them later surrendered and became what we called a Bushman Scout. He changed over to our side. And I was down the A Company boozer one night having a couple of beers, one of the mates, and this Bushman Scout worked for him. And he said, hey, him, and he's pointing at me, and the mate looked at me, he said, Jesus, you'd be arsey, wouldn't you? And I said, why is that, cock? He said, I suppose we were every day of our bloody life anyway, for that matter. He said, you were down at Long Green some time ago, weren't you? I said, yeah. He said, old bunker system from 67. Yeah. He said, you were doing this and you were doing that. And I said, yeah. How do you know? He said, he was there. Heavy Weapons Company, D445, and that's actually how I found that story out. Whew, how arsey would you be? Again, unbelievable, but that, you know, everything I could see, nothing. Couldn't hear anything, couldn't smell anything, no cooking, no nothing, no noise, not a thing, just the hairs in the back of the neck. And another time I'd RV'd, I think Bravo Company, and I was leading them down off a feature I think we used to call the Bone. I know the Bone feature quite well, I'm pretty sure it was the Bone. Well, we come down off it, there's a bunker system in one area on the southern southeastern area of it. And just the hairs on the back of the neck went up again. And I for some reason, I swung around to my left very carefully, but I made as if I was looking at the guy behind me. And at the corner of the optic, I caught movement in the bunker. That was just, I don't know exactly what it was. It was just something that moved. Now, there shouldn't have been anything moving. And I thought, shit, what do I do? I'm a gone goose here. Whatever I do, best thing I can do is keep walking. So I did. And we got further down, further down, further down. More people came past that area. Nothing happened. Now, I am quite sure, in fact I bloody well know, there was someone in that bunker. Because of that movement, I caught out of my peripheral vision. Had I been looking directly at it, I might have been eyeballing the guy, I don't know. But if I'd have gone to shoot, I'm quite sure he would have nailed me before I had a chance of nailing him. Now, whether there was 1, 2, 3 in there, wouldn't have a schmick. Obviously, if more than one, there wouldn't have been very many, because they would have counted us through and thought, well, we're taking on too much here anyway, same as we would have. And bloody, we all got through. But again, that was just the hairs in the back of the neck made me bloody turn around very slowly, and I made as if I was looking up there when in fact out the corner of the optic I'm looking down there. Again, I think very lucky that time too. It was just something, you know, unbelievable. A lot of people say it's bullshit, as I've said, but it's not.
What became of the bunker system down at the Long Green that you were talking about?
Oh, normal shit. You could blow them up, you could call artillery on them, come back months later and they've rebuilt them. But that interdicted their supply route and their little havens here and there, so unless you can hold the ground, what else do you do? Certainly didn't have the manpower to sit there and hold the ground, build defensive position, or sit on and in every bunker system we found. If we did, we'd need every bastard from the Australian Army, American Army, German Army, French Army, and I don't think the French would want to go back there just quietly, but it was an impossibility. You couldn't do it. So destroy what you found, as much as they could rebuild it, it would take them months to do so. So it throw them out of gear, destroy the crap and keep on going. It's all we could do. Pain in the arse, we would have liked to have sat there and sat there and sat there, but not feasible.
So did you venture into any of these bunker systems?
Oh, hell yeah. Every time, whether you had to fight into them or whether they were unoccupied, you always went through them. Bloody, you'd search the bunkers, see what was in them, if anything. Quite often you'd find maybe weapons, parts of weapons, documents, food, ammunition. Sometimes absolutely nothing. If there was nothing, there'd often be cobwebs, the place would be overgrown and dilapidated or something, so you knew no one had been there for quite a while. If they were sort of looking a little bit spick and span, you could always tell when they were used or not used anyway, just common sense. If they're used, naturally they're sort of clean and you'd have well-worn tracks between them. If they weren't, the old tracks would be a bit overgrown or chock-a-block with leaves and crap falling from the canopy. So, yeah, every time you hit one, you went through it, whether it was occupied or unoccupied. If it was occupied, sometimes you'd have to back off and get a lot of artillery or even armour in to give you a hand. Sort them out. Invariably, they'd piss off by geez, they used to be able to inflict some casualties, because when it comes to taking out a bunker system, they've got the advantage. They're below ground, firing basically at ground level, where the mug's standing up and walking towards them and trying to winkle them out, and you can't, sometimes you just can't see the bloody things unless you see a muzzle flash, and then you got an aiming point. But if you don't see that, you're looking at that bloody black screen there, basically. So, yeah, I think everybody went through a bunker system.
How often did you call in artillery or airstrikes?
Oh, whenever required. If you got in a big shit fight or something you couldn't handle, called in, that'd give you an escape route, piss off. Or, if you found something, and I'm talking now reconnaissance, you'd pull back if the place was occupied. You get permission to get a bloody artillery strike on it and give them the grid reference, bloody give them all the info, and in it come the rounds.
How long would it usually take for them to respond?
Well, if we called them, we'd have to get clear first because you had to be a certain distance away, but anytime from instant to whenever you want it. No probs at all, because the guns were always on standby. Same as aircraft, most times. You could always get an airstrike. Of course, airstrikes always took longer than artillery, naturally. That's
How many incidents were there where you thought they were, too hard to handle and you had to call in support?
quite a few. But the job was, when you're playing reconnaissance, the job's not to pick a shit fight. The job's to pick it out, see what's there, report it, and then piss off and do your next trick, and someone else will deal with that problem. Whether someone decides to put an arty strike, an air strike on it, or put a bloody rifle company into it, that's up to them. You've done your job. Piss off. So very rarely would we do that. It's, you're defeating your purpose to a degree, because if they haven't had ground fire and they think they're safe and all of a sudden all this shit whistles in on top of them, what are they going to think? Hello, who the hell's sneaking around looking at us? So to a degree you compromise yourself. So report it, piss off out of it.
What were some of the more valuable recce operations that you did?
Actually, I couldn't tell you, mate. Some were good when you would find things, but as much as it may sound funny, some were also good when you found nothing, because intelligence reports might say, we think or we suspect there's such and such a mob in this area. Well, we'd go in and we'd find nothing. As I said, as much as that may sound funny that we found nothing, that's good, because now we know the pricks we're looking for aren't there. So the intelligence people have got to think of, well now, where are they? So, of course, you'd have to go somewhere else, and other patrols would be working here, there and everywhere anyway. As for finding things, well, when you pick up occupied camps, bunkers, etc., as I said, report it, piss off, or if they ask you to stay there and watch, well, yeah, natural, that's part of the job anyway. All sorts of things are useful, bits of probably tattered uniforms or discarded bits of equipment. That'll let you know whether they were North Vietnamese or just VC or even, what do we say, hardcore VC, main force. All sorts of things that probably might be trivial, might seem trivial, but can all form part of a jigsaw. So, no, documents, of course, documents if you got them, brilliant for some of the info on them. Ambushes was another good source actually. The amount of documents, money and shit that were found from actually springing ambushes and knocking over the people who walked through them, the amount of crap they were carrying on them, phenomenal. In fact, I suppose to a degree that was probably more lucrative than anything you found laying around the bunker system or anything anyway, for that matter. Because they were on the move from one place to another carrying all their info and crap with them, and if you're lucky enough to knock them off, which happened quite a few times, bingo, she's a big bonus.
Weren't the SAS doing a lot of reconnaissance?
Oh yeah, they were the prime reconnaissance. We were reconnaissance for our battalion, not to be confused with SAS. Two different units, two different roles. Basically, when we operated as reconnaissance, we'd operate much the same as SAS, but with certain limitations. So let's not confuse the two roles there. We were different to what they were. A similar sort of role, but not to the degree that they were.
Had battalions been doing their own reconnaissance like this for very long?
Yeah, 5RAR had a bloody good recon platoon on their first tour, and again on their second tour. We had, on our first tour, what later became Recce Platoon as I know, it was then called Fire Assault Platoon, because we had the tracking team, tracking dogs as an integral part of the platoon. And on our first tour they were called Fire Assault, which was, don't ask me, I wasn't in it. I was in Charlie Company. But it wasn't used as recon as such, as far as I know. And I could well be wrong, but I was in Charlie Company and that's it, we're in our own little world sort of thing.
What were the tracking dogs like in the jungle?
Brilliant. Bloody good. Excellent critters. Black Labs and Black Lab Kelpie Cross. But they were magic bloody critters, mate.
What were the bonuses or benefits of having the dogs in the jungle?
You'd get bad guys hurt, wounded. Visually tracking, you could lose a blood trail. Bring a tracking dog in, and of course he'll track. And different dogs had a different way of pointing things out. The dog handler knew his dog intimately. When that old dog stopped and pointed in his own way, spread out and let's have a good look. But, they, on quite a few occasions actually, the old tracking dogs saved a lot of casualties And they're also responsible for a lot of kills that we inflicted on the enemy as well. Otherwise, we would have missed them without those dogs. And sometimes our people would also have walked into things without those dogs. So they were bloody worth their weight in gold, mate.
Did you have many casualties on the second tour?
Actual casualties. Yeah. I couldn't tell you how many. I think as far as KIA, killed in action, I think we had the same on the second tour as the first. I think. Wouldn't be sure without looking that up in some bloody book I've got floating around here somewhere. But I think we had exactly the same amount killed. Wounded, I wouldn't have a clue. I'd say, at a rough guess, I would think we took more wounded on the first tour than we did in the second tour. Again, hard to see without looking up statistics. Yeah, I think we would have had more on the first tour.
What about enemy kills?
That I couldn't honestly answer because the hierarchy, namely the American hierarchy, was interested in the body count. Made no difference to us whether we got a body back or not. As far as we were concerned, we knew we killed the prick. Whether his mates carried him away, that's up to them. We didn't get his body, so we can't count that. It would be, I wouldn't even guesstimate it on either the first tour, which I wouldn't have a clue on, having been just a digger on the first tour.
So you didn't give the
Second
body...
tour, I wouldn't bloody guesstimate either.
So you didn't give the body count much thought?
We didn't. When we got actual bodies, yeah, we'd report how many we had, because you always had to give a report over the radio, bloody after action report or whatever. 5 enemy KIA, 3 enemy WIA, bloody yarp, weapons captured, documents, whatever. But, you know, 5 enemy KIA, and you might have been, for example, let's take a hypothetical thing. You might have caught 20 or 30 of them. You might have got 5 bodies. You might have killed 10 of the bastards. But while they're laying down fire to keep your head down, they've snatched 5 of the 10 anyway, so we only finish up with 5 bodies. When in fact we got 10, we know we got 10, but we can't prove it. We've only got 5, so it's only 5. So, Christ knows how many. As I said, you wouldn't even guesstimate it, mate.
What did you do with those bodies?
Turn that camera off.
Do you want me to?
Nah, bury the bastards. In some instances, they were put onto armoured personnel carriers. I'd drop the swim vane on the front of it, or on the engine deck of a tank, and they'd be driven into the local village marketplace, if we knew where the bastards come from, dump them in the village square. And then the white mice, Vietnamese field police, and the local hierarchy would observe the reactions on the villagers' kisses. So then they picked the families or relations or friends or whoever. So that happened quite a few times on the second tour. I don't think we ever did it that way on the first tour. First tour was bury the bastards, put them in a bunker and blow the bunker in on them, if we were lucky enough.
Save digging a grave.
Oh, mate, it's a pain in the arse having to dig a friggin' hole in the ground if you're not going to jump into it to protect yourself. Christ. And they're dead. What's it meant to us? We're alive. We beat them. So who cares what you do with them in reality? Everybody says you got to give them a good Christian burial and shit like that. Bloody sure they wouldn't do it to us, but no way.
Did dumping the KIAs in the villages prove to be effective to find out families?
Yeah, I believe in a few cases it did. It paid dividends. Then there's the other way of looking at it too, which went against the grain of a lot of diggers. Was not a very nice thing to do. I'm not a very nice person either, I guess, but I think I'd side with the people who went against that, because it very likely helped to turn some people who may have been sitting on the fence, may have helped to turn some people against us, which is not the aim of the game. You know, if you're going to win the hearts and minds, well, let's win them. That ain't the way to win them. Might be the way to find some more bad people out, but some of the general populace who could potentially be on our side, no, you've lost them, mate. Whoever thought of that one, I don't know, but it was carried out, and there you go. What the end result of it all was, psh, Christ knows.
Were there any other procedures that you sort of felt unsure about?
No. Because all our, everything we did was tried and proven and tried and proven.
Is there anything you had done differently in the jungle or the bush?
Yeah, become a protester and stayed back here. No, I don't think so. Because there's not a great amount you could have done, actually. No. Stick with what we know.
How often did you get leave?
On the second tour, I got the system changed somewhat. We still got the R&R, 6 days overseas. The R&C, the original 5-day R&C, changed to, we'd be out in the bush for, I don't know, 6-8 weeks, probably. I say probably. Then you'd come back to that and get spruced up, well, cleaned up, not spruced up. Go down to Vung Tau and we'd have, was it 2 nights? Or 1 night? Might have been 2 days and nights down there instead of the 5 days, so probably over a 12-month period you might have, you might have jagged 10 days down at Vung Tau plus the overseas R&R.
What did you get up to down at Vung Tau?
Well, I don't think I better talk about that. I think you can imagine.
Why don't you give us an idea?
Getting the piss. Try to win the hearts and minds of the local female populace, except you had to pay for it. Some guys bought souvenirs and whatnot to send back here, but that was about it. All you really did was worry about getting a screw, if you could, and just get smashed out of your cotton picking bean and forget everything over the last couple of months, and then in a day later you're going to be out there again. So that was it. End of story.
Was there a lot of drugs being used by the Americans, or is
With the Yanks, I believe so, and it's pretty common knowledge that it was. It became quite a big problem, in fact.
Did you see that at all?
Yeah, you would in bars in Vung Tau. You could smell the shit, mainly marijuana at that stage. I call it marijuana just to be funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, you'd walk into some joints and you could smell the joints. Right. Our people, some did, when sprung, severely chastised. And I don't mean necessarily formally chastised informally, and never ever did it again after that, mate. Soldiers' justice, not the system justice.
So what would the soldiers do for justice on that?
Beat the living shit out of them. And if we get in a shit fight, sunshine, and you're still taking that shit, you ain't coming out to shit fight, son. One of us is going to get you. You don't want a half-doped fool out in the bush, will you? You're relying on the bastard. So, I don't know of any that were killed. Undoubtedly there might have been, but I don't. I had one soldier, and he'll remain nameless for obvious reasons. Butt stroked him on the side of his face and bloody ripped his kisser open because he was smoking dope.
On a patrol?
No, in a base, and no need for that crap, I'm sorry. And the medic sergeant wanted to do a report, and I said, let me put it to you this way, very succinctly. If one of your medics was smoking dope and one of my people came off a chopper here wounded and needed your medic to patch him up, what would you do to that medic? He said, I'd do what you just did. I said, good, no further questions, Your Honour. And he said, yeah, no further report either, mate. End of story.
Well, it certainly sounds like it was frowned upon much more in the Australian camp.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think some, no one condoned it, but some, I think, may have let it drift. But most of us, no way, dead against it. We get enough fun out of this and cigarettes.
Well, why do you think the Americans got so heavily into drugs? Because, I mean, you know, just from my perspective, it seems ridiculous to be taking drugs in life-threatening situations.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but look back upon the times in the 60s with Hashbury in San Francisco, or Haight-Ashbury, and the hippies and the drug movement was the in thing, baby, and all this crap. And you got to remember that a lot of these Yanks in Vietnam were draftees, the equivalent of our Nashos or conscripts. Now they're already on the junk before they're drafted, so they continue it. And of course, in Southeast Asia, you could get any bloody thing, you name it, you could get it for a price. And generally a pittance to what you'd pay Australia, US, wherever. So of course there's a big wide open black market there for them to continue and coerce others into too, probably. I think that, I don't know, but I think that may have been one of the biggest factors of the lot. And it probably got to the point where their commanders couldn't control it. Because if they locked up every prick who was smoking dope or smoking dope, taking pills, probably would have had a platoon left out of a battalion. That wouldn't be too flash. Wouldn't be too flash going out in the bush with all the dope heads either, just quietly, but don't know.
Would you be in contact with SAS blokes at all?
Now or then?
Well, then I'm just thinking that, you know, you're doing a pretty similar job from what I can gather. You've been dropped in and pulled out.
Oh, we had mates over there that we'd work with on different courses and shit like that. And of course they had much easier access to some bits and pieces of gear that we wanted. So if we were going out somewhere where I thought we might need this, we might need that, couldn't get it through the normal battalion channels. Over there say, yes, going to Boozer, hey Cobber, come here, I'm going to such and such. Can you skive me this, can you skive me that? Yeah, come on mate. So away we go. Get what we wanted and then
what would you be
piss off.
skiving?
Classified.
Classified?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
No.
Was everybody doing that sort of thing? Just, you know, if you need it, sort of somehow work your way around getting it.
If we didn't have it or we couldn't get it, we'd go to someone who could get it. And we were all the same. Australians are notorious thieves when they're at war. If you've got it and I want it, oh bloody well have it. So, but the two ways of doing things, you can either steal or you can be nice and coerce them into it. So, yeah, everybody did. It was all a big round robin sort of thing.
It sounds like you had a bit of camaraderie there going on with
Oh,
your
yeah.
scenes.
That always has been. Always will be.
You never sort of had a bit of a go at them because they were considered to be more elite than you lot?
No, what for? We're all soldiers, we're all wearing a uniform. And I'll tell you something. The old bullet don't stop at the uniform, dear. And it don't matter who you are. I was 21, super fit and bulletproof once. 2 or 3 of the bastards went through me and I had to revise my opinion of things then. So, yeah, we're all the same. Doesn't matter.
Did that sort of change the way that you operated after you were actually shot?
No,
Because you're not bulletproof essentially anymore.
of course.
I'm just wondering if there was a bit more fear that crept in about, you know, the reality of the fact that you could get knocked over by a bullet considering you already had.
Nah, I think you know that from the first time you're shot at. But it's just part and parcel of the deal, mate. It's life, it goes on. Somebody gets knocked off the perch, somebody else steps into his shoes. So it goes on.
When you were patrol commander, did you have any injuries when you were out on patrol?
Yeah,
And what happened under those circumstances?
call the chopper, dust them off. One dickhead, he'll remain nameless, this poor bastard, I tell you. We're flying into a LZ and I was in the port door. I forget who was in the starboard door. The rest of the blokes were on the seat. Instead of, that's right, the idiot was in the starboard door. Instead of turning back in that way to face the blokes, I just turned back that way slightly, and of course you've got to bear in mind a bloody great pack of me back, you know, a bit limited. And what I did was yell out. And I said, now, don't forget, when I say go, I want you at 10 o'clock, you at 10 o'clock with me and the rest of you at bloody 2 o'clock. Roger. Yeah, Roger. Anyway, in we come. And the skids wouldn't have touched the ground, I don't think. We were out, gone thumbs up the crew, and the old bird pissed off in the wild blue yonder again, into the scrub. And I said, right, we all here? Then he says, no, we're missing one. I said, oh, shit, who? He said, so-and-so. I said, oh, Christ. Chinese Parliament time, come here, everyone. Right, who was next to him? I was. He was in the door and I'm on the seat next to him. When was the last time you saw him? He said, as we were coming in and you yelled to us. And I thought, oh shit. The dickhead heard me yell going, I'll guarantee he jumped. And I said to Denny, I said, you two stay here, Condi. Honey, back out in the clear, and there it is. Arse over turkey over its back, the stupid prick hurt its back. How he never broke his back, I don't know. But all he heard was me say, go, and the full parted company with the aircraft. And we must have been a good 30 feet off the bloody deck and coming in at shit knows here quick, because all the aircraft do would be come in quick, flare, and we're out, thumbs up, they're gone, you know. They wouldn't even bloody hit the deck sometimes. And the stupid prick, he heard me say go. So, of course, he parted company with the aircraft. Instead of waiting, what sort of fool would do that?
It's not using your brain, is it?
Oh, he had two. One was AWOL and the other bastard was doing the coordinate search for it. Ah, shit. Dragged him back the tree line, got in the radio, dust off. Ah, shit. And we couldn't get extricated. We'd already been compromised, quite obviously, by bringing the dust off packing. Nothing happened anyway, so we just pushed off on foot and kept on walking, one man less. Ah, shit. What a fool. All he heard was go, and the dickhead went. And he must have been 30 feet in the air, for God's sake. Wouldn't have been so bad if it had been the wet season, he mightn't have hurt himself so much. He'd have just sunk into the mud. But it was a dry season, the ground was hard as a bloody rock. Oh well, rough. Back to Australia he came.
Did the wet season make things a lot more difficult than in the dry?
It's 6 one, half dozen the other, actually. Sometimes it did. It was good in the when it was pissing rain, it would mask your movement and noise if you were making any, particularly if you're in a large group. Say a full section, forget it, half platoon or platoon size outfit. It would mask your noise, but conversely it would also mask the bad guy's noise. Also, visibility came right down sometimes, much less than what it normally was. The bonus was, however, water was plentiful. Instead of getting bloody rats pissing leptospirosis out of a rotten old creek that shit knows what shit in, at least you're getting decent bloody water. And of course, on the other hand, because what in the dry season is a piddly little creek you can just tippy-toe across now becomes a raging torrent, much the same as it is right across the north of Australia. A major river, trying to cross that becomes a major bloody disaster.
I'd imagine that'd be quite dangerous as well.
Yeah. And of course the mud, if you happen to be walking in, I was just cloying, mate, like walking through wet cement, you know. Come out, you mongrel, come out, you mongrel. As I said, the bonus was you had plenty of water, and it was all good fresh water too.
Would your skin suffer from being wet all the time?
No, because it didn't rain continuous, typical monsoon. She'd start in the afternoon, it might stop in the evening, might go all night, but you weren't perpetually wet. You'd dry off. Feet suffered the most, I'd say, because they were always damp and wet, foot rot, and like I said when I took my shoes off this morning, I said my feet will probably stink, it's foot rot. Never get rid of it for some reason. That stink is still there. Tried lotions, potions, pills, and stick it, nothing works. So don't even bother anymore, live with it.
I was going to ask you, you know, when you're at the fire support base, was that the same thing as the forward base called the Horseshoe, or was it a different thing?
The forward base, called the Horseshoe, was exactly that, a forward base, but a static base. We had artillery there as we would any other fire support base, but the Horseshoe became an established base. It didn't move, it stayed there. Fire support base, when we established them, they were only there for the duration of the operation that we would be in a certain area. Therefore, we had artillery cover all the time.
Gotcha.
We were out from there. When the operation ceased, all the guns would be flown back to Nuidat or wherever they came from. The whole thing would be dismantled, destroyed, and brought back. And there it was, just a big bare patch of crap in the middle of crap. But the Horseshoe was an established base.
Where was that in the position of everything?
From Nuidat, let me think, roughly about southeast or east-southeast or something. Probably a few clicks away. I can't remember exactly how many. I'll show you on a map later if you like.
Yeah, and why was it actually put there as a permanent base?
It it had a couple of advantages. It actually overlooked the town of Datno, which was immediately to the south of it, only about a click away. From it, you could see across some of the flatlands, right around the place, in fact. Plus, by having guns out there, it obviated the necessity in some cases of moving guns further. By having our guns there, we had greater artillery range than with them back at the DAT, although we still had guns at the DAT. But it gave us a little more flexibility, actually. So it was a good idea.
How many blokes would be manning that base at any given time?
Usually there would be a rifle company at a time as perimeter defence, plus headquarters element in the guts, RAP, that's a medical centre thing.
So it's quite a
regimental
large...
aid post. Oh yeah, it's in the crater of an old extinct volcano actually, called the Horseshoe because if you look at the contour lines on the map, it's exactly that, a horseshoe. And the open end of the horseshoe looked down over the town of Datno and further south.
Kind of fortuitous?
Yeah, handy little spot.
It's also elevated, I'm assuming?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So was it under canvas, all the stuff there, or was there some cement buildings?
Under canvas and underground. Yeah, a lot of us had underground bunkers there.
So not trenches,
And,
more like bunkers?
No, proper bunkers, living bunkers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were some tents there. Yeah, in fact, yeah, along the high ridge, northern side of it there was. It was a mixture, actually, now I come to think of it. In the guts there were proper huts. There were a couple of them. Timber and corrugated iron, from memory. The memory might be failing me there, though. No, there were, I think. There was, we had our 105 artillery there. There were, I think, American 8-inch self-propelled, a couple of them there, plus our mortar tubes as well, or some of our mortar tubes. And whatever rifle company was there as defence, generally there'd be at least 1.5, maybe 2 platoons of that company out every night ambushing or patrolling around the place. Just basically a skeleton crew, meaning the gun bunkers. So everybody was out forward to protect the base anyway from ground attack. So
it sounds like a pretty comfortable sort of a place as well to be. I mean, you know, in comparison to even, well, the jungle and also Newey Dat.
Oh, not as comfortable as that. Decidedly less so. But yeah, I suppose compared to walking around the Urlu, comfortable, yeah.
Was there permanent washing facilities there?
What are they?
Well, you know,
Yeah,
bucket.
in the wet season, mate, stand in the rain. Yeah, there were shower buckets and all that sort of crap, yeah. And proper toilets. I don't mean flashing ones, you know, the white man magic where you press the button and down she goes. Holes in the ground, of course, but yeah, there were washing points and bloody toilets and that sort of crap thing.
So what brought you back to Australia? What was happening over there?
What do you mean, what brought me back to Australia?
What happened when you eventually sent home?
A big grey ship called HMAS Rust Bucket. No, Sydney. Yeah, came home on the Sydney. We finished our tour.
What was happening towards the end of your tour?
It was still ongoing. Nothing ever stopped, relented, ceased or anything. 3 Battalion relieved us. They flew into that. We got onto the Chinooks and we landed on HMAS Sydney and had a taxpayer-paid cruise coming home for 11 or 12 days or something.
What was your attitude towards coming home?
Oddly enough, on the last operation, I was busting my arse to get out of that bush, get out of that country and come home. When the day came and 3 Battalion flew in Chinooks from the Sydney and got off, I didn't want to get on and go. I don't know why, but I would have preferred to have stayed there for some stupid bloody reason. And anyway, that was rough shit. I was on the aircraft and we were heading to the Sydney and the Sydney was heading home. So that was it. Home we came.
What was the voyage home like?
Good. Good. It was a good wind down, actually. Unlike some of the poor bastards who flew home, and Nashos particularly, 1 minute they're in the scrub, next minute they're in Saigon, they're on a 707, then they're off at Mascot Airport in Sydney, and then they're out the army and back their civvy job, and no wonder about 30% of the poor bastards rejoined the army. God Christ, imagine that. You know, no wind down period, no nothing. But coming home to Sydney, it was, yeah, it was good. It was a good wind down, really.
Just going to pause there for a minute, Hooky.
Yeah. Roll again.
Rolling.
Okay.
So how did you wind down on the way back?
Very easy, really. We had nothing to do. We had a few work parties to provide to help the ship's crew, of course, because of a greater influx of people on the ship. I worked in the laundry, which was, other than the engine room, probably the hottest place in the bloody ship. The advantage of that was, what was our beer ration? I think it was 2 26-ounce cans of beer a man a day. The advantage of doing a watch down in the laundry, being so hot, was the petty officer or chief petty officer in charge of the laundry used to go and get the beer ration for the people working in the laundry. And of course, that was above and beyond our normal issue up on the flight deck or in the hangar deck. So we would always pick those of our soldiers that didn't drink to work with us in the laundry. But everyone in that laundry got his 2 cans per man per day. So the old PO would go up and say, I've got X amount of people working in the laundry. So, oh shit, we'd have a ball. I'd be pissed before I get in the beer queue up in the bloody hangar deck, mate. Great stuff. And the watch down there was only, 4 hours, I think. So it wasn't hard. Other than that, blokes did nothing. Just wound down, did nothing. It was good.
What were you looking forward to most when you got home?
This is going to sound bloody crazy, I know, but probably having leave, getting on the piss as usual, and going back to Vietnam. I know that sounds crazy, but yeah.
So you weren't really looking forward to home at all?
In a way I was, probably for a rest, but I probably had a good think about things, and I didn't want to stay here as much as I was shit scared over there, and I guess everybody was. as long as that was going, I guess we had an obligation in a sense to go back over there anyway. But when you've been through the real thing, it gets very mundane and hard to put up with, and I suppose treat as realistic, as much as you're training other people to go through it. But you're running around the bush here firing blank ammunition and bang bang, and of course blank ammunition doesn't, pardon me, doesn't give whoever you're firing at the, you know, the real impression. So who the hell wants to sit back here and put up with that shit for another 12 months, 2 years, 10 years, whatever, you know? You might as well get back to what you know, regardless how shit scared you are or whatever, you do it. Besides cheap beer and cigarettes, and it was tax-free, who cares? Stupid, isn't it? Eh? What are you laughing at, Flossie?
So how were you greeted when you got back?
We were okay because we got off the ship in Sydney as a battalion, or most of the battalion. We called it a Fremantle here. Let our Western Australian, South Australian blokes off. South Australian blokes flew to Adelaide from here. The rest of us sailed around through Bass Strait and up the coast of Sydney. And we got off the ship and sort of gathered our wits, and a lot of guys had relations and loved ones and all that sort of dribble there. A few of us like me from interstate, we had nothing to give a shit. And later on we marched through Sydney with bands playing and no dancing girls or anything, bugger it, but hordes of people. We had no paint thrown at us, for a change. We all had bayonets fixed anyway, so any prick who got in our way might have got hurt. And that was pretty good, and then it was, where did we go? I think back down to Garden Island or wherever we docked, and hand out weapons in, and they were transported out to our old base back at Holsworthy, which was going to be our base again, of course. And then we were on leave for however long we were on leave for, and I was booked on a flight to Brisbane that night. However, I got in the piss. Strange. Me and my scaly mate, who was booked to go to Melbourne, him and I finished up in Brisbane 3 days later. Jesus, we went through some air tickets, I tell you, in 3 days. Instead of having the sense to ring up and say, oh, listen, can you transfer me flight to whatever? No, we just miss the flight and keep drinking, doing whatever we're doing. Bugger it, ring up. Go out to Mascot, get another ticket, pay for it, and then go back into town, miss the flight. She must have paid for about 6 airfares to Brisbane. And he was supposed to go to Melbourne, but he didn't. He finished up in Brisbane with me. And then, we got in the grog up there, of course. Caught up with a few mates. I ordered a new car. They had what did I put on that? I put a 300 or 400 deposit on, I think. I had no driver's licence at that stage anyway.
What sort of car?
Two-door Valiant Pacer, 1971 model. Oh, brand new, all singing, all dancing, bloody thing. Thank Christ I never picked it up. I probably would have killed myself. But day I had to pick it up. I woke up, we're at the mate's place, and old beastie's packing his bags. I said, where are you going? He said, going down to Melbourne. I haven't been home to see my old woman yet. I said, oh, well, hang on, I haven't been to Melbourne for a year or 3. I'll come with you. So, packed up, said hooroo to the mate. Bloody went out to Eagle Farm, flew down to Melbourne, never got back to Brisbane to get me new car. Don't know what they ever did with me deposit, but I never heard from them. Somebody probably drank it or whatever, pocketed something. We got down to Melbourne, we stayed there for a couple of days, went to Adelaide, caught up with a couple of people there. Then where'd we go? I went back to Brisbane. Don't know where Beastie went. He went somewhere. And then leave was finished and we were back in the battalion, and that was that. And then of course Vietnam finished, so going back there didn't bloody eventuate. And
Well, what happened when you got back to the battalion?
oh, very little, just normal mundane crap. Back into training, getting reinforcements in to build the strength up, and normal routine exercises, drill, weapons training, navigation, the whole old routine all over again. Then National Service finished, and of course we got suddenly from being we weren't even a full strength battalion again anyway, we just went, everybody packed their bongos and left. So there we were, and we started all over again.
What was your reaction to hearing that the war was finishing?
Bloody shitty, actually. For the simple reason it very simply wasn't finished the way it should have been. I'm not saying we should have won. That would have been preferable, of course, to losing. But the way it was done was a heap of shit, because we left many, many good South Vietnamese people in the lurch. And it was like turning your back on your best mate and walking away. And it shouldn't have happened. That's politics, though. That's rough shit. Nothing to do with us, but left a very nasty, dirty taste in a lot of people's mouths. Still does. So that's my opinion of that.
What do you think may have happened to the South Vietnamese in the aftermath of that political decision?
History can tell you that, but there's a hell of a lot of history you'll never read or hear, my friend. But we know. Throat cut, re-education, which is re-indoctrination. Not good, mate. Why do you think so many people risk their necks to get out the country, get to here, get to anywhere, simply because of what was going on there? And we all knew that would happen. Even I think the lowliest, silliest bloody digger in the country knew that would happen. But, however, jack shit we could do about it. It was pack your bongos, you're going home, bingo. You know, and you simply can't do anything about it. Sad, but true, very sad.
And you decided to keep soldiering on?
Yeah. Yeah, I did just over 20 years.
Why did you make that decision?
Well, I did it when I was wounded, actually. Because I was a little buggered up, of course, arm, leg and whatnot, and I thought I had aspirations to join the US Army and go on their Green Berets, which would have been quite easy to achieve. However, with me buggered arm and leg, I thought there's no bloody way, one, they'll accept me, two, that I'll ever pass the para course. So, Australian Army, you got me like this, you can bloody well put up with me. So I enlisted in the regular army for 6 years. I just kept serving, I didn't actually get out of national service, just kept going. And lo and behold, what'd they do? Put me in reconnaissance platoon and put me on a friggin' parachute course, for God's sake. Which I passed, luckily, of course. But hell, how the dice roll. Yeah, I won't go to the US Army, they won't have me like this. I couldn't pass a para course in a pink fit. What happens? I get put on one ear and pass it. Bloody hell.
Why did you want to go to the US Army?
I like the idea of the Green Berets. I don't mean the Green Beret itself, modus operandi.
I know, and you look pretty good in one of those Green Berets.
I look a lot better with camouflage cream on me kisser, mate. You don't see it that way. But anyway, that was another pipe dream went by the wayside, so who gives a shit? What else?
What happened then in your decision to stay in the army?
Oh, well, just kept soldiering on. I didn't see any point in getting out after 8 years. Then after I got over the 10 to the 14, I thought, well, shit, I've only got another 6 to go until I do 20 years. So I signed on for another 6 and did 20.
So where did that 20 years take you?
Oh, Sydney, Darwin, Adelaide, Perth. Plus I went to a lot of other places in between. They were just major places. They were places I actually posted to, but travelled over most of the place.
What about promotion?
Oh, I finished up as a sergeant. To get me warrant rank, warrant officer, I would have had to go back over east again, and that meant packing up and moving and all that bullshit. And when I looked at getting out as a sergeant as against the way too at that stage, monetary difference was negligible. So I thought, rather than go through all the hassle, who gives a rat's ass? Might have been nice to have a Queen's warrant hanging on the wall and wear a peak cap, but as soon as I got it, I would have said, stick it up your arse, I'm going back to Perth anyway and getting out, so pointless. So I just snatched it here.
So what did you gain out of those 20 years moving around Australia in the army?
Got stuffed around a hell of a lot. I don't know, really. I had a lot of fun. Had a few hard times, had a lot of good times. Saw a lot of places. Made a lot of friends here and there, both civil and military. In general, probably had pretty much a ball, I'd say.
What sort of role were you serving in?
Oh, back here, normal infantry, up to the point where I then changed the administrative stream, became clerk, and then I just got posted from end to end as chief clerk or chief administrator. That was it. Pushed a pen and saw me days here.
So what was it like pushing a pen as opposed to being a foot soldier?
Warmer, but particularly in winter, but in some ways more rewarding, because you get bad people in the administrative side of things. Your soldiers get stuffed up as far as pay goes, leave goes, all their different entitlements goes. Their movements get stuffed up when they get posted from unit to unit. But if it's done right and the troops are happy, the troops always turn around and say, beauty, thanks. So, yeah, good, rewarding.
So what kind of responsibilities did you have in administration?
Oh, well, everything. People's pay, leave, entitlements, bloody movements, name it. That sums it up in a nutshell. That's everything.
So looking after the fellas was rewarding?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're out in the field, as I used to be, you look after your troops as best you can to keep them warm and comfortable, which you can't always do naturally because of what our role is. And 9 times out of 10 they call you bastard when you say we got to go on a patrol and it's pissing rain and freezing cold. Who cares? So you have to do it. It's got to be done. But then on the other side of the coin, when you're in the admin stream, if you do it right and you get it right for the digger, and the digger has no foul-ups, hiccups, whatever, he turns around and he says thanks. Okay, beauty. Good. That's all you need. Simple.
How did staying in the army and perhaps getting married keep you on an even keel when you got back from Vietnam? We'll just hold that thought. I'll just pause for a minute there.
Yeah, mate. Right?
Yep.
I don't know. Probably didn't, I'd say. Because while you're in the system, you're with your own people all the time. So Vietnam finished and all the rest of the crap. Was no real big deal. Might have interrupted a couple of personal plans, but that can happen anywhere, anytime, anyway. Marriage, no, that was no stabilising effect. I think the big one was actually still being in the system. So many of our blokes went off the rails because they got out. They said, oh, stuff this. And is it the bird? As a consequence, they had no one around them of their same ilk, no one that understood them or anything, couldn't relate to anyone or anything, and that's why so many went off the rails, became recluses or whatever. Those of us, I think, that served on, regardless of whether we got married or stayed single, were much better off, because in effect we went through, what would you say, probably a hell of a long wind down period. You still had that same type of people, that same type of group of people around you. That was probably the big thing, I'd say. Not necessarily getting married. Getting married and having kids, that's a bloody embuggerment. Well, all of a sudden you got more problems than you thought you ever had.
Are you a member of any of those associations?
Bloody hell. Costs a fortune every year, son. Yeah, what am I in? RSL. Oh, only two now, RSL and National Malaria and Borneo Veteran Association. No, I'm just an affiliate member with them because I never actually served in Malaria Borneo. Passed through, but never served there.
Just got a few drinking mates down there.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, so that's about it in a nutshell, I think.
Well, how important is Anzac Day to you, Hooky?
If I miss it, I miss it. If I'm there, I have a ball. These days, if I go into Perth, generally I don't even come home drunk. I'll be home about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I can curl my toes up out the back. I don't have to worry about getting a train or a taxi or any sort of crap like that, buddy. But while I'm in there overball, generally catch up quite a few blokes I haven't seen for a while, so yeah, it's good.
What do you think about on Anzac Day?
Oh, like any old digger, mate, we get together, talk shit, drink piss, bloody swap yarns about how close this was, how close that was, and they're probably exaggerated tenfold, if not 100-fold or something, but that's about it, really. But it's good to see the blokes and just swap yarns and catch up with who's doing what. So, yeah, it's important, but as I said, if I miss it, well, rough, I'll miss it. You know, it's just another day when it's all said and done.
If you had the opportunity to do another tour of Vietnam, would you?
Yeah. I'm too friggin' old though. I'll go as a tourist this time.
Well, on that note, it's been great to meet you today, Hooky. Thanks for spending the day with us.
Peace up.
You've...
As they say in France, a piece of wee mate. Means a piece of piss.
Good to hear.
No sweat. Thank you.
You're welcome.